Well, welcome back to today's episode of the Tundra Cast, and today I'm joined by Patrick
What's up, guys?
and by a new host, Man.
Good afternoon.
And today we're going to just be talking about, I guess, just the latest of the NHL. I don't know, like, what do you what would we call this? Like news and stuff?
Mostly just news, like updates, rumors, because there's a couple of stuff we have to cover. Like, we have some trade rumors involving players like Carlson and Horvat.
Okay,
But we
yes.
also have news. We also have information about teams like Anaheim, like how they've been doing this season.
Okay, so I guess the latest shite going on there.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
All right, so let's start. I guess first with Carlson, Eric Carlson. Uh,
So,
he's
do you
been
want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, Eric Carlson has been doing phenomenal this year. I mean, what he's second in assists, I believe, or no, he's second in points. Sorry. He has 11 goals already. He's got 28 points. He's only behind Connor McDavid in points. He's been great this year. And obviously, when you do great for a team that's not too good, you're going to have trade rumors around you. So, he's starting to have trade rumors. Um, so yeah, I mean, he's what? How old is he now?
Uh,
Right now,
32.
he was 32.
Yep.
So he's 32.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a no movement clause, which factors into his trade, but he has a cap hit of 11.5 million until 2027-2028 season.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be really the main issue because, like, he's obviously, like, we'll see if it continues, but he is looking like the Eric Carlson of like 15, 16,
Yeah.
which is wild. But, like, cap space is the new currency. Like, if you have cap space, you're looking good. And, like, as good as he is, like, that cap hit for that long is that's just awful. So
Yeah.
it's gonna take a lot to be able to actually move him.
Yeah, I would say currently, if you have cap space of like 1 million or more without having to use LTIR, you're pretty set. So, like, teams with at least a million of cap space without having to use LTIR, so like Winnipeg, Nashville, Minnesota, New York, I'm, yeah, the Islanders with New York, Ottawa, Detroit, so on, like, those teams are a lot more set than teams without cap space. But like the only team that could really afford Eric Carlson right now, the only teams that could afford him right now without having to shed cap space would be Anaheim, Buffalo, and Arizona.
Yeah, and none of those are teams that would want him because they're all well, maybe Buffalo,
Yeah, maybe Buffalo.
but even then, Buffalo, like I mean, they started off really well. They've been awful.
Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of things are it's just a weird start to the season because obviously a lot of teams start slow and a lot of teams start fast. I mean, every year Buffalo starts out amazing and then they kind of fall off. You've seen it with teams like Nashville, who started off terribly and are now starting to find form a little bit. The Kings started off pretty meh and then started doing great. So it's been a lot of weird starts to the season, and we'll see if it balances out. I mean,
Yeah, but in this Buffalo's an extreme case. They started off 7-3.
they are
They're
now
now
7-10.
7 game losing streak they're currently on, and they just lost Comrie, who's now week to week.
Yeah,
So like it's not a great outlook, especially since like granted in this losing streak, like they've played some good teams, they've also played some not great teams who they are dropping games to. So like the idea of like I think with any team though, like they're not going to be making a trade this early in the season unless it's dire consequences because most people don't know if they're real contenders or rebuilders yet.
yeah. And I'd say even teams that are down, like, it's still way too early in the season to tell if you're a contender or not. I mean, obviously, if you're Anaheim, who we'll get to later, who hasn't won a game in regulation yet, you probably know that you're done. Or if you're like you're Columbus, who what has like every other player on their team is injured right now. Like if you're one of those teams, then yeah, you're probably done for the year. But other than that, like there's really no true way to tell if you should be rebuilding or not.
Yeah, Columbus, like it's wild, just like how much, and especially their decor. It's like they have lost four out of their top six
Yeah,
that are
so
just done.
yeah, so just to let everybody know who exactly is injured for uh Columbus right now. You have
I
Zach
have,
Werenski.
yeah, I have the list if you want me to read it out.
Yeah, read the list.
Yeah, okay. So we got Voracek, Merzlinkins, Jake Bean, Adam Bachfist, Patrick Laine, Nick Blankenberg, Zach Wierenski, Justin Danforth, and Texier. And those last three, Wierenski, Danforth, Texier, are like they're done for the season.
Oh, there's also Adam Bachquist.
Yeah, Adam
Yeah, I said
Boquist is
Bachfist.
on long-term injury
Yeah, but
reserve.
like it's LTIR, but like those three are like confirmed they're done for the season.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Hmm.
at
Bachfist
least
has a chance of returning.
yeah, Texier. Well, he didn't even start the season. He's in the he's in the behavioral health program, but
Yeah.
obviously we all hope he gets better.
Yep.
But yeah, but like they've just been bitten by the injury bug hard this year, and they have the second most injuries. The only team ahead of them in injuries is Washington with 8. Like it's crazy how just hard the injury bug is hitting some teams this year.
Yeah.
And
I will
it's
say though,
crazy for Washington too, because or not Washington, for Columbus, because like you said, for Columbus, it's a lot of their better players that are injured, like Werenski, Line, those players. So it's really hurtful for them.
Yeah, like think about it. Like I would say even Merzlikins has got to be one of the biggest losses for them this year because that's their goalie.
that's
Like
what I was going to say. Like, yeah, while Washington they do have more injuries, I would honestly say like the injuries to Columbus are more critical in terms of like
yeah,
who they've lost.
yeah,
Because like,
because
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say like I agree with you because like with Washington, right? They've lost like Tom Wilson and like Backstrom and stuff, but they still have Ovechkin, they still have Kemper, they still have a lot of guys who are really good. But Columbus has lost their main goalie, they lost their main defender, they've lost some of their main forwards.
I think the other part of it is like expectations were different for those teams. Like going into the season, once they picked up Goudreau, like Columbus looked really good on paper, and then you have all these issues. Whereas like with Washington, I think people were expecting a little bit of regression for them because they are an older team and because they knew going into the season that they were going to be missing people like Tom Wilson for a while.
Yeah,
It's just it's interesting to see like because they have like Columbus, they have potential like if they commit to rebuilding this year because it's not looking like they're going to be able to do much this year. Like they have assets that could be moved for whatever they determine. Like I know Gavrikov would definitely be a hot commodity on the market right now.
oh yeah, definitely. And not only Gavrikov, but a player like uh, even a player like Boone Jenner could be something that teams want to pick up if they decide that they need to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a player that they would want to trade but they can't trade is Goodbranson because of that horrendous contract.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but in terms of like I don't.
No, don't even because the contract was terrible when they signed it.
Oh yeah, no, but it's just gotten worse. Like it was a bad contract, but you could. It was like, yeah, but like now it's gone off a cliff.
Yeah, it just you don't really, yeah, you don't really need to say anything besides they paid Eric Goodbranson 4 mil.
It's not even, but it's not even just formula. It's 4x4.
Yeah.
No, that's wild. Because then they also have they're Nyquist is a UFA at the end of the season. Gavrikov's a UFA. Bayrothers a UFA. As is Corpusalo.
Yeah,
Like they and
and
on top of that they have like a lot of RFAs as well.
it's quite interesting that Corpusalo is still around because there was all those, like rumors and speculation around him for such a long while, and he's still around, and obviously hindsight being 2020, it's very good that they didn't trade him because, well, they'd have no one for in goalie in the goalie spot as of right now. But it was just very weird that he still wasn't moved.
Well, I think because he's right now, yeah, after he's making 1.3 mil and he's going to be a UFA next year. I think it was also the case of people like there wasn't exactly a whole lot of teams lining up to sign him after last year because he wasn't great. And just like, yeah, if you're not gonna, there's no reason to trade him and not get back value. Like if you get a trade, great, but if not, like there wasn't really a point to making a move, I guess.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, back to you know the oddities of this season so far. Back to sort of like the main point with Carlson. I'd say it's way too soon for any teams to make trades because obviously things could just change on the dime. You know because it's way too early to tell. But some of the teams that are in on Carlson more are the Senators, the who else is in on him? Hold on, let me. There's a list somewhere that I can pull up.
I also like the Leafs were also put out there as an option. I'm not sure how realistic of an option they are, but you know
Yeah,
they need defense, and like now like without Muzzin for probably the rest of the year, like you can't have Justin Hall and Jordy Ben being your go-tos. Like shout out to Jordy Ben, he's been absolutely nuts since he came back, but like that can't be the be all and end all of your defensive core.
yeah, and even still, you really can't like. Well, it's even a thing where it could be a thing where Muzzin doesn't return at all.
Oh, I know that he's not coming back.
Not only for
Like
just this year, but I mean like
oh no, like legit. Some like I don't know who needs to have the conversation with him, but somebody needs to sit him down and say you're done
yeah,
because like the type of stuff that he is getting hit with, like these aren't just oh I can't play hockey anymore. Like this is like my life and like how I operate on a day to day basis is fundamentally changed forever because like that the one thing that you absolutely do not mess around with is your spine
yeah, like
and like this like they're not even reevaluating him. They're not even going back to check and see how he's doing until February. Like this just need the conversation needs to be like you've had a great career, you've got 2 cups. I know you love the game, but this it's
yeah,
not worth it.
yeah. Obviously, your brain and your spine you don't fuck with.
Yeah. And it's just like that's like it's even gone back to like I remember like the bubble series against Columbus with the thing with Dubois. Like ever since then, it's just been and even a little bit before that, it's just been it's not been good.
Yeah,
And you can't keep trying to force this situation.
yeah. No, it's just he just you got to think about your own health. But
Exactly.
there are a lot of teams in on Carlson. One of them is Ottawa, which would be fun if he came back to Ottawa. But there are also the Maple Leafs. There's the Panthers, who Elliot Friedman believes is the main contender for him at the moment in the Panthers. I believe
Well, it's weird that the Panthers would want him because, like you mentioned before, they don't have much salary cap,
well they
and it's
could
true they don't have many great defensemen. Like they only have like Ekblad and Montour, and that's kind of it. Maybe Gudas is also good, but and Carlson would be a nice addition, but they don't have much cap space.
yeah. Well, I think that they just need. I think that they're wanting and hoping to just just improve something. And there's a lot of like man said before we started recording, there's a lot of contracts that they could dump off uh
Yeah, that's
in
true.
in a
And
trade.
Tornquist is also ending his contract, so he could be gone too.
Yeah. But that also means that Florida needs to commit to being a contender. And like the problem is they've objectively like their roster is worse off compared to last year.
Yeah,
Like they're still a great team, but compared to last year, like last year they were bona fide contenders. This year, like it's just like there's more doubt
yeah,
in the mind of everybody.
I think a lot of us were scratching our heads when the Kachuk trade was made, and it just keeps getting worse by the day.
Well, yeah, well originally it was that whole idea of Like, yeah, they got the whole thing that was like the one knock on Calgary at when the trade was made is like, you're not going to get Huberto and we could resign. And then plot twist, they did.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, Florida at this point has lost the trade. And because now you've ended up with a situation where Mark Stahl is part of your top six at 35 years of age, which, like, that's not a situation you want to put yourself in.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, but so yeah, that's just so yeah. With a lot of teams, that are in on Carlson, there's a lot of speculation going on. Obviously, he's not the only player that's being thrown around in trade situations right now. I mean, obviously, there's Nikita Zaitsev being thrown around. The Is it Zaitsev that I'm thinking of? The
Yeah,
the best
Zaitsev
player
is
ever
one
for
from.
Ottawa.
Nah, don't get me started on that.
Leafs legend Nikita Zaitsev.
The best player ever.
Yeah.
Wait, where is he?
Yeah, there's also Bo Horvat. That's another guy we'll get to later.
Yeah. Then there's Chikrin. There's Oliver Ekman Larson.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, one thing I just want to say, like the idea about Florida going after Carlson, like the point I was trying to make is like the fact that their team is worse off than his last year. I feel like they're going to be way less willing to commit to somebody like Carlson because if also other contracts are getting sent back to San Jose, that means the picks and prospects that you're going to have to attach to that deal just keeps going up. And if you're making that kind of commitment to a guy like Carlson, like that means you believe that you can win the cup this year.
Oh
Because
yeah.
who knows? Yeah, who knows what's going to happen next year?
Yeah, and yeah, still, and it's what like not even it's not even 2 months into the season, 2 full months into the season, and yeah, he's doing great, but that could drop off. And even at
So
the
like,
even at the trade
go ahead.
deadline, if he's doing great, still, it's a big
That's yeah,
risk. It,
that's exactly it.
like way too big of a risk. Like even for like even the net. Like I'm a big fan of Eric Carlson, always have been, but it's such a big risk that even if like we got him for free, but I still wouldn't want him on my team because I just see it as way too big of a risk.
Yeah, because as of right now, Florida's not even a wild card team, which is wild.
Yeah. So next up, Vegas still hasn't learned their lesson apparently. With all of the stuff about with Marc Andre Fleury and how fans and most people feel that they screwed him over and such. They are now doing the same thing to Robin Leonard. It feels like. So everybody knows the past uh, of the Vegas Golden Knights with their team and how they treat players. But if you don't know, they have a penchant for being very quick to pull triggers when they really don't need to. So we all know that Robin Leonard came into Vegas, was doing very well, kind of became the de facto starter in the postseason series, winning it over Fleury, which sent Fleury out. And then you had Leonard getting injured, but he still played through the injury, which I think is very dumb. You shouldn't play through injuries like that when they're that bad because it never helps your team really. So the Golden Knights came into the year with Aiden Hill and Logan Thompson, and for better or for worse, they've both been phenomenal. Logan Thompson has a 925 save percentage, and Aiden Hill has a 920 save percentage. But the problem is that the Vegas Golden Knights are already looking to trade Leonard away, which doesn't
Um,
make
I mean
sense.
that in and of itself, you are looking to trade somebody who's going to not play this year, most likely. Like this is the market for a guy like Leonard, like in his current situation, isn't there. And now you've just put that out into the world, and like imagine like if obviously I can't comment on what it does to you mentally hearing that like you're in trade rumors because I've never been in that situation, but like I can't imagine it's good.
No,
Like the
it's
fact that like
definitely
yeah,
not good, especially when the year before, better for worse, you played through an injury to try to help your team, and
and
now,
even more than that, Leonard was there when they watched all the BS that Vegas pulled on Fleury. Like
Oh
he's seen
yeah,
it firsthand. Exactly. Like
yeah,
he
and
knows how they treat him.
yeah, and fans have been. I've talked about this on podcasts all the time. Fans in Vegas, I've said that they don't deserve Robin Leonard. That they've treated him like shit for something that's not even his fault. It's not his fault that he was legitimately playing better than Fleury, and so they decided to move on from Fleury for a goaltender who is younger and cheaper than Fleury. Um, but Leonard gets hurt, and so you're hurt, and while you're rehabbing and trying to come back and help your team, you see that they're already thinking of trading you. It and like again, we're not even 2 full months into the season, and they're already thinking about trading Leonard. Like even if they wait for Leonard to get healthy, so Leonard's healthy, and then they trade him, and they get a good return, it still doesn't make sense because it it's just not a good idea, and it really feels like like they need to just understand that a lot of play like there was the thing in free agency, a lot of players didn't want to sign with Vegas because no one feels safe in Vegas. It seems like you run the risk of being traded just at any moment if they find someone even marginally better.
Well, it's also like they're Vegas is extremely fortunate that Bruce Cassidy fell in their lap. Because like if they don't have Bruce Cassidy, I don't think they have the season that they're having right now.
Oh yeah,
And
I agree.
and using that as a like, I get it. You're good right now, and both your goalies have been good. It's one thing if like if this is what the player wants, but you're just looking to flip somebody who's on LTIR for value.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is well, it's just shitty. But it's also just like, how have you learned nothing? Because like maybe you get something out of this. Like even if you make a move and it works, you're still the assholes.
Yeah, because like we saw it in free agency, like I was saying. People don't want to sign with Vegas because they don't feel safe.
Yeah,
You don't want to move your entire family and home and your life there to eventually just be traded.
yeah.
Like besides Flurry, we saw it with Dadonov. We saw it with many other players from Vegas. It's just not like you can't just do you can't just you can't just fucking willy-nilly trade people for just results now. I get it, they made the cup final in their first season, but like that's hurt them more than it's helped them, I would think.
Yeah, because it put in their mind that like they don't have to actually rebuild. They can just quote unquote retool, which like it can work, but if it doesn't, it just prolongs your pain.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you have to
And
be
like it would go ahead.
go ahead. No, 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 you go ahead.
I was gonna say like in with the Leonard situation, even if this is like you're just testing the waters, the fact that you've let it get public, like you've just ruined any standing you had.
Oh
Because
yeah.
now people know you want to move this goalie. The goalie knows that you want to move this goalie, and it's just like court of public opinion. Like they were already not doing well. Like it just gets worse and worse for Vegas, and they're the architects of their own downfall in that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Uh you know, it's just very interesting, and I've been working on a video about it, about how Vegas went from the lovable underdogs in their first year to just becoming unanimously hated. And I think it not only has to do with the way their staff, with not their staff as a whole, but like their upper management and such treats their players with like the quick flips and just like, oh, we'll just trade this guy for this guy, and screw making promises and and stuff. There's no loyalty, but it's also the fan base. It's an extremely entitled fan base, I would say.
But you know, and just to that point about the quick flips, I'll give you a little quiz question here. On their current roster, how many people do you think are still there from the expansion draft?
I'm gonna say, uh, let me think. Shea Theodore would be one. Did they?
He would actually. Shea Theodore is not one.
No, because they got him in the expansion draft.
No, they traded for him.
Well, still, I thought you meant like just players that they acquired in the expansion draft.
Yeah, but he wasn't acquired in the expansion draft, wasn't he?
No, well, he was because that was the whole thing. Is it was like the deal. The Ducks gave them Shea Theodore. The Ducks gave them Shea Theodore to take Casey Stoner, was it?
Yeah, the expansion draft considerations. So yeah, I'll count it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was Braden McNabb who they took from LA?
Yeah, he was one.
Braden McNabb is one.
I actually have the list here if you guys want me to say all of them.
Let me just try to think if I can think of any more. There was well, obviously Marchessault.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there was one more who was like one of their better players in their first season. I'm sure you can guess who that was.
Smith count as one?
Or no, he was traded from the Panthers.
William Karlsson, he had that one great.
Yeah, him. That's who I was thinking about.
And I don't think there's any more. Is there?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Nope, one more. There's one more.
One more?
Who is it?
Yep. It is William Carrier.
So from the original
William Carrier?
Like,
yep.
They've got like.
Oh yeah, he is there. Yeah.
Jeez, so that's less people than I thought. That's weird.
Yep. Actually, yeah, no. Technically, Riley Smith does count because he was also one of the people traded for expansion draft considerations.
Oh yeah, was he?
Yep. Because so Florida got a fourth for Riley Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, but Jesus, that's not very many people. Like
I know that's what I'm saying. Like even if like hockey team is one thing, like even just in like regular business, having that high of a turnover rate is going to be detrimental. And now you have it within a world where like team chemistry matters, man. Like and like you need everything to be working well. Like trust is a must. Like you can't have players not trusting the organization and like being able and resorting to like these quick moves. You're not going to be able to actually have players build trust within your system or each other. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I would say the second that Vegas the fan base is entitled. Their Twitter is very, very horrible, just like the Hurricanes Twitter. They're both annoying. Anyways, say whatever you want about that. I would say the second that we all obviously Fleury made sense. Obviously they traded him for nothing, which was stupid, but I could kind of see it because of the sort of the market at the time and the need for cap space and such, and the fact that they had Leonard, who was younger and cheaper. I could kind of see that. But the thing with Dadonov, where they traded him at the trade deadline to a team that he wasn't allowed to be traded to, really, I think, me personally, I think that's when the straw broke the camel's back on Vegas for a lot of fans.
I don't even think you can classify it because like the straw breaking the camel's back is like the small thing that like just pushed them over the edge. This was not a small thing. Like even just from like an ass move in terms of like you're just not doing right by the player. Like it's incompetent.
So
how do you not know Anaheim is on the guy's no trade list?
Yeah. Okay. How about this? I would say this is a better analogy. It's the massive mallet hitting the fly.
Yeah, I prefer Gallagher and the watermelon, but good enough.
But like, think about it. How do you not know if the player's on the trade list, and why do you do that?
Well, it's either you don't know, or you choose to ignore it and just hope to just skate on by.
Yeah, or like the whole thing with Fleury didn't know he was traded until he saw it online.
Exactly.
You can't do that, especially to Marc-Andre Fleury, the heart and soul of that original drafted team. And a person loved by everybody in hockey. Like, seriously, like, I don't know many people who dislike Marc-Andre Fleury. And you do that to him, that immediately made them hated. And even worse is that they keep doing it and they don't learn, and now they're doing it to Leonard. And I don't care, like, even if all of this ends up being fake, like, oh, that never actually happened, they were never even testing the waters. The fact that it's so believable that they are just shows what that team is like.
Yeah. I think the other part of it for Vegas is like they're recognizing the fact that like their window is closing pretty quick. Like when you go through like their best players, like they're getting up there in age, and like some of them, like yeah, you can still be effective in your early 30s, but like it's getting shaky.
Yeah,
Like you, so Eichel is 26. That's fine. Mark Stone is 30. Carlson's 29. Marchessault and Riley Smith are both 31. Petrangelo 32. Martinez 35. Shea Theodore's already 27, and Braden McNabb's already 31. Like you are running out of time to be effective.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it's yeah. I understand that. However, there's no reason to approach the situation this way.
Well, I would say like other teams who are kind of older, though. Other teams that are older have better. Like Vegas has no prospects. I can't think of one Vegas prospect. Like if you ask me right now, I can't think of one.
Well, one quote unquote prospect, even though he's playing in the NHL right now. If you want to give it to Paul Cotter,
Yeah, I guess. But like even
and he's already 23.
yeah, even some of like the older teams like Tampa Bay, Toronto, Nashville, Los Angeles. Some of these older teams, they have very good like systems, and like if they trade a bigger piece, they have someone to place them with. They have very good prospect systems. Vegas doesn't. So their window, while other teams' windows close slower, Vegas's window is rapidly being shut because they traded all of their prospects away for that minimal getting better at the time.
Actually, it's surprising. Vegas is one of the younger teams.
What?
It's but yeah, no. But the fact is, it's not just like it's their key players that are the issues. Like when you take the whole roster, yeah, like yeah, no. I wanted to see where they were relative to everybody else. They're actually relatively young, but it's
the
just
oldest team, New York, the Islanders.
yeah, average age of 30.25.
Who's the youngest team? Is it
New Jersey.
oh.
Yeah, so youngest teams, it goes New Jersey, Columbus, Ottawa, Chicago, LA. That's top 5, and number 6 is Vegas.
Whoa. Oh.
Yeah, but the issue is like it's their key players that are old.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have. Like, yeah, you have. I don't even know how to say his name. Jake Leschyshyn.
Jake Leishon, I believe it's.
Yeah, I like Leschyshyn better. But yeah, like you have young players, they are not contributing in the way that other teams' young players are.
Yeah, like as I was saying, like Toronto and Nashville. We have 2 fans of the teams here. I'm a fan of Nashville. Man's a fan of Toronto.
Yeah,
we have old players, obviously. Like Nashville has Duchesne, who's 31, Johansson, who's 30, Granlund's 30, Yossi's 32, McDonough's 33, Ekholm's 32. You have those old guys, but you still have the young guys doing very well on the team. I mean, you have Yakov Trenin, Juuso Parssinen, Tanner Jeannot. You have these younger guys who are doing very well. Dante Fabro, and the Leafs have that too. Obviously, they have older guys like Tavares and
well, Tavares, Giordano, Ben, and Wayne Simmons. If you want to throw Yarncroke in there, you can as well. But the thing is, like while these guys, like Tavares is obviously an integral part of the system, most of those guys, they are not your. If you lost them, it's not the end of the world type thing. Like Giordano, love the guy. Like and the fact that he's come back and like performed that well. The other part of it is the older players don't represent as much of a cap hit as they do for teams like Vegas.
Yeah.
But then it's also like you look at what Toronto has down the pipeline, then you look at somebody like 2 of their top 6, Liljegren and Sandin. Obviously, Sandin hasn't been great this year, but he's only 22. Liljegren's 23. Fucking Samsonov is only 25. Like the Leafs lucked into Samsonov so hard. I don't know what Washington was doing, but I'll take it.
Yeah, and like look at Nashville. Like who do they have in the AHL right now? They have Tomasino, Evangelista Afanaseyev, Tommy Novak. These
And even not in the AHL, you have the likes of Tanner Jeannot.
yeah. So what we're getting at is Vegas' window is shutting faster than any other team's window is because they don't have young guns pitching in as much as they should, and they don't have big prospects.
Well, it's not even as they should. It's just like the young players on the team. Like you're not expecting them to actually contribute just because like they don't have great young players. Like you have people that can quote unquote contribute, but like they are not going to be a factor. But like if Vegas is relying on people like Paul Cotter to be the difference maker, they're already done.
Yeah,
That's the issue.
yeah, and I guess we can talk more about Vegas in another episode. So
Yeah,
we'll
Vegas is just a circus.
we'll move on to, I guess, you guys want to talk about Shane Wright and other young guys who have been messed
Yeah,
up with, or do you want to talk about Anaheim?
let's talk about the Shane Wright and other archetypes, because so like the issue is you have like the one that's getting the most attention is Shane Wright, and rightfully so, first overall pick.
Well, not first overall pick.
Sorry, should have been first overall pick.
Yeah, the
He was
first overall pick, but
Yeah.
But it was attitude issues that made him drop.
Yeah, well, I don't think those attitude issues are getting any better when he's getting played 6 minutes a night or getting scratched. Like,
Okay, like I get it. Seattle's doing okay this year. I mean, they're 9-5-3, which is pretty good.
third in the division.
Yeah, third in the division, pretty good. They've been doing good. Martin Jones and Magnus Hellberg are going off.
Yep.
But at the same time, I've been saying this about the Kings forever. Do not fuck the future up for small gains. We just talked about this with Vegas.
Yeah, don't be Vegas, Seattle.
Well, the other part of it is like when you look at the expansion draft, like Seattle was like because Vegas made all the side deals in terms of who they would pick, and they would pick somebody not as good in order to like get some assets from whatever team. Seattle just took I don't know what some of those picks were in terms of the expansion draft. They just took players that weren't great, but then also like they had better options that they just didn't take for no reason.
It really felt like Seattle was just throwing stuff at a dartboard.
Well, what it felt like was like, okay, we're going to hear about all the side deals that happened after the draft, and there weren't any. This was just like Ron Francis just kind of picked. He just made some questionable choices, and
yeah, like I would say the most questionable choice that they made, in my opinion. Well, hindsight 2020, but I really thought that they should have gone with either Johansson or Duchesne, and they should have gone with like Landeskog. But obviously,
see, but Landeskog, I kind of understand that one because like obviously he wouldn't have stayed in Seattle.
oh yeah,
That's my understanding. But you had players that were like they were good players. Maybe they come back, maybe they don't. But like they would have been better than what you got.
yeah,
Yeah.
Obviously Johansson and Duchesne. This was before they bounced back. Obviously, I was high on them. I had said that they were gonna have a great year before they ended up doing it. Like I'm always high on my players because it's just you're always gonna be higher on your players. But like you need, in my opinion, you need like a more veteran presence to just be there and like just lock things down. But obviously, that's not really what the problem is in Seattle right now. The problem is that they drafted what was thought to be the best talent in the draft, what was it, third or fourth overall?
Overall.
Yeah, fourth overall. Getting what was thought to be the best overall talent in the draft, absolute as a steal, and then you don't play him.
And honestly, like, so the issue for me isn't that they're not playing him because if he's not good enough to make the team, he's not good enough to make the team. Like, if you have better options, you have better options. It is what it is. But you exactly, you have a system in place that he doesn't just have to be a healthy scratch. I'm not sure if he's eligible to play in the AHL, but even just sending him back to juniors, don't have him not playing. There is no way that sitting up in a press box benefits him in any way. You're going to stunt his development. And like there's literally no upside to him just sitting in the press box. Get him some games. Just have him playing. It's not that hard. There are plenty of opportunities for him to play. Let him play.
Yeah, it does nothing but hurt a player's growth to just bench them. Put them in the AHL, put them in juniors, do what you have to do to get them to grow, because not playing hurts the player more than going down a league hurts them.
Exactly, and it's the same. Like I can't exactly comment on the Shane Wright situation because like I don't keep that up to date with Seattle. I keep up to date with Toronto, and it's literally the same thing happening with Nick Robertson. Like and the even worse part is like when he this was a nice stat I heard because it also relates back to people are absolutely baffled when it comes to Toronto's overtime lineup. The issue is Toronto's played 5 overtime games. They are 1-4 in those games. You might remember the one game they actually won was against Dallas when Nick Robertson just played one of the best defense to offense plays of all time. And now he's just stuck in a press box. Like you have a spot for him, maybe even on the second line as the left winger. But even if you don't agree with that, putting him in the press box, making him a healthy scratch does nothing. He can play for the Marlies. Like just get him some games.
Yeah.
Having him not play is not the answer.
Yeah, and I would say like we're all gonna throw in our own our own teams because we know the most about our own teams, right? I would say there's a certain situation going on with Nashville in Cody Glass. Obviously, Cody Glass isn't as good as Nick Robertson or as hyped as Shane Wright, but he was pretty good this like in what he has. As my cat just yells at me, he had 3 points in 9 games, and he was doing very well in the games he played. And he's just being healthy scratched, and it there's no rhyme or reason to it, in my opinion. I I just feel like there's no benefit from benching players. Send them down.
But yeah, like benching, like it's a punishment. Like, what are you punishing for? He is like all these guys. Like, obviously, like Shane Wright, he struggled to produce, and if that's the case, if it's just the wrong fit, yeah, then it's the wrong fit. He's still a young guy. He's still a prospect. Don't just have him sit there doing nothing or having him like healthy scratch is one thing, but even if you're like playing him like 6 minutes a night, that does nothing for him.
Yeah.
He needs to actually be playing in the games.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, he hasn't been. You could say he hasn't been producing, but has he even been given an opportunity to produce? How many like how like if like
Yeah, let me
yeah,
pull up the
pull
Shane
his
Wright game
stats.
log.
How many? What is his time on ice every single game? Because if it's 6 minutes or something, that is like no one can get their bearing in the NHL, the Premier League for hockey.
This is even worse than I thought. Okay, so I'm gonna run through it game by game. So October 12th, 6-14 against Anaheim. October 17th against Carolina, 6-50. October 19th against St. Louis. This was his first NHL point, his only NHL point. He has 0 goals, 1 assist. 6-36, 8-42, 5-51. And then, yeah, he didn't. So that was October 23rd. The next time he played was November the 3rd, his highest time on ice, 13-45 against Minnesota. And then November 5th, 8-42 against Pittsburgh. He has not played in the NHL since.
So
he has played 7 games with an average time on ice of 8 minutes. Only one of those games did he get above 10.
So
that is not a conducive. Like, that's not going to help him grow. That is not going to help him become a better player. That's just, it does nothing for him. Actually, let me rephrase that. Doing nothing for him is the best possible scenario. If anything, it's going to hurt him.
yeah.
Just being stagnant doesn't help you grow.
Yeah. And a lot, like, again, we're going to relate more to our teams because it's easier for us. People were very confused about Tomasino being sent down to Milwaukee, but at the same time, Milwaukee has one of the best, if not the best, coaches for development in the AHL right now. So it doesn't hurt him. But even if you don't have a de facto amazing system in the AHL for growth, it's still better than nothing.
Yeah, like they're hockey players. Let them play hockey. Like
Yeah.
this isn't rocket science. Having them sit isn't going to help them. Just
Yeah.
get them games somewhere. That's the end of the situation. Like that's the be all and end all. They need to be playing hockey.
Yeah, it really feels like Dave Hackstall didn't want Shane Wright at all, and he was just like, well, I'm not going to send him down, but I'm not going to play him.
Is that Hackstall's call though to send him down? I thought doesn't that come to the GM?
It's both, because the coach has to get the players he wants.
Yeah.
Because the GM can't just be like, okay, I'm calling this guy up and sending this guy down.
Yeah, but like if you have someone like Shane Wright who the coach isn't playing, why would the GM keep him up there? Like it's just like it's an issue with the entire front office of Seattle. Like you have one of the best prospects of this draft and potentially the best prospect, and you have him doing nothing.
Yeah, and like he hasn't even been given a chance to succeed yet. Like you just read the times on ice he's been getting.
Yeah.
He has not played one game where he's gotten 15 minutes of ice time.
Yeah. And like if he's not, if that's because you feel like it's not a good fit or because he's not ready, then yeah, send him down. Like I feel like we're just making the same point over and over again, but it bears repeating because it's bonkers that you're just keeping him there.
Yeah,
there's no reason.
It's the same point over and over and over again, but at the same time, it needs to be repeated over and over and over again, because what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You were actively ruining probably what might have been the best prospect of this generation before Connor Bedard for no reason.
Yeah.
Let's move on, because we could keep going about this forever.
Well, speaking of suck hard for Bedard, let's talk about Anaheim, because they're just not great.
Like Anaheim. So
they went out and got John Klingberg, which is also another potential. I'm obviously going to talk about the Leafs. He's also a potential target for the Leafs,
and he's probably their best player on the team right now, aside from Zegras.
I haven't kept up with Troy Terry. Is he taking a step back?
Well, Troy Terry, he's pretty good too, but like
I know he's good, but like, is he actually performing this year? Because I know like he was.
I think he's their point leader, isn't he?
I'll pull it up right now. But just for a second, let's just look at all the big people they added up while they added this offseason while I pull up their stats.
Yeah, Klingberg obviously is the first one.
Strome, they added Klingberg, Strome, they added Frank Vetrano.
Mm-hmm.
They added Dmitry Kulikov. Okay, I got the stats up. So as of right now, their leader in points is Troy Terry with 20 points.
Yeah, and then Trevor Zegras, he has 17 or 16 points, I believe.
Zegras has 16 points. Plus minus is a useless stat. And their leader in time on ice per game is Cam Fowler with 24 minutes and 55 seconds.
And he's their captain, right?
Their captain is... I don't believe they have...
Oh, they don't have a captain.
Yeah,
no, I'm looking at cap here right now. They have one assistant captain. That's it.
Yeah, really?
Only
Silverberg is their only assistant captain.
Only one of their players is allowed to talk to the refs, apparently.
Yeah, Jakob Silverberg. Yeah, he's the only person with a letter, and it's an A. Nobody else says anything.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Just give it to Fowler already, or someone who's been on the Ducks for a while.
No, you don't even need to give anybody a C if you don't want to. Why just have one alternate captain?
Yeah, at least give them their A's.
I think it's because of, obviously it's going to be after Getzlaf left. And like, no, I know. It's still ridiculous. I'm just they don't have somebody who's like a clear cut, like their leader. Fowler, I think, is the closest you're going to get to it.
I would say your leader is either Henrique or Fowler.
That's what. Yeah, like I'd say give Fowler the C, give Henrique the A, because I feel like Fowler's been there longer, right?
But
Fowler has been there for like over a decade.
Only Silverberg gets to talk.
And he can only do it some of the time. Like imagine, he's just an assistant captain. And he just can't do anything. Honestly, that'd be kind of a brilliant move if they just gave no letters at all. Then anybody could talk to the ref.
Is
that allowed?
I don't know.
I don't think it is.
But like Silverberg, like he's the only player. But what if he's like in the box or injured and no one else can talk to him?
I really don't know what the exact ruling is.
I don't think it's like an actual rule. I think it's just it's like a tradition.
It's not an actual rule.
Yeah.
But at the same time, give goalies the captaincy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they
Mhm.
kind of are. That happened somewhat once, if we're gonna count Roberto Luongo.
Well, yeah, but do it more. Like, if
Yeah.
anything, John Gibson should be the captain of the Ducks because hell, for half the time that he was on this team, he was the only reason that they were relevant.
Yeah. No, like Anaheim, like the whole idea, like you haven't won a game in regulation yet. Like that's wild.
Yeah.
That's obviously not going to be something that continues. Like this is yeah, this is
Like eventually
an
they got to
anomaly.
turn things around.
So just for a thing, they are 5-11 and 17 on the season.
You mean what? 5-11 and 17 on the season? You mean 5-11 and 1?
Yeah. And all of their
I read their games played. Jesus.
Yeah, I was gonna say
God.
Let's just read their games played this year. So
Should we just read the wins, the ones that went to
No.
overtime, or should we include?
I'm gonna read it all, but I just gotta find all of the games.
That's the thing, like, because when you think about it, like, just
start this year. Can't remember.
they would have started on the 11th or 12th. Because remember, the global series was the 7th and the 8th, and then it started on the Tuesday after.
Oh, so they started the 12th.
Yeah.
So they opened up their season with a 3-2 loss to Chicago. Funnily enough, two of the goals that were scored by Chicago was Jared Tenorti. So their second game, they won in overtime against Detroit 3-2. They wait.
I think you might be reading this backwards.
Yeah, no, I'm what the hell are you? Oh my god. Okay, there it is. Okay, so they started their season on October.
You read
12th.
November the 12th.
Yeah, I read November. Okay, Jesus, I'm dumb. Okay, October the 12th, they started their season with a win against Seattle 5-4. Then their second game, they lost to New York, the Islanders, 7-1. Then they lost to the Rangers 6-4. Then the Devils 4-2. Boston they lost in shootout 2-1. Detroit they lost 5-1. Tampa Bay they lost 4-2. Vegas they got shut out 4-0. They beat Toronto 4-3 in overtime, obviously. San Jose they won 6-5. Vancouver they lost 8-5, and I think that was Vancouver's first win on the year. San Jose they won 5-4. Florida they lost 5-3. Minnesota they lost 4-1. Chicago they lost 3-2. Detroit they won 3-2. Winnipeg they lost 3-2. So
no, that can't have been Vancouver's first win. There's no way that Vancouver didn't win a game in October.
I think they didn't.
No, not true. Vancouver's first win was against Seattle, 5-4 on October 27th.
Oh, okay, so now let's look at this. The Ducks currently carry the 31st ranked power play in the NHL at a 10.6%. Their penalty kill is the 32nd ranked 64.5%. Their face-off win percentage is 26th ranked 46.2. They give up 38.4 shots against 38.4 shots against per game. That is the worst in the NHL. So like what is the issue? I would think
they're just bad. Like they're the worst team in the league on points. They have a goal difference of -26, and they still employ Dallas Eakins. Like, at what point do you just accept the fact that this guy is not the guy?
Yeah,
because he has shown time and time again that he isn't the guy.
Yeah, like I would say
he's an AHL coach. He's not an NHL coach.
The only thing that is like Gibson has a 893 save percentage, and Solers has an 896 save percentage. Like something is wrong there when two goalies have that low of a save percentage. Like we saw it last year. The Seattle had two terrible goalies on their team, and they were terrible. But like, it really feels like Anaheim is all or nothing. Because
right now they're very much nothing.
Yeah, it really like they don't have much of a defense really, and it's just like, can we score?
Yeah, but so like part of that has to be acknowledged the fact that like they're also very injured right now.
Yeah,
like they're missing Shattenkirk. I mean, John Moore and Derek Grant aren't huge factors, but they are a factor. They don't have Jamie Drysdale. Bull Yu, who wasn't he signed like this? he got there this year, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he's also injured. Like it's like, but everybody has injuries.
Yeah.
Like it's you are missing key players. Everybody's missing key players, but like this, yeah, this
Yeah.
this is just a weird occurrence. Like there's obviously they're evidently going to win a game in regulation. Chances are they might even win tonight against the Blues. Although the Blues have been on a heater as well.
The Blues have been on a heater,
It
but
like it's just like yeah, 5-11-1 with no regulation wins. It doesn't inspire confidence, and it is indicative of a bigger issue.
yeah, and it is a thing later that all of these like wins that they are like, think about it. A tiebreaker in the NHL is if you have like wins in regulation and overtime.
Well, is it? Yeah, like obviously, so like, but like they do tend to win in actually like overtime. I don't think a whole lot of them are actually in shootouts,
Yeah,
right?
I think one of their I don't think they've actually won a game in shootout, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you can look at all of these like games that they are, losing and like just
Mhm.
eventually see that if they do eventually rise back up, it really has hurt them. And I don't know.
No, because they do have 2 shootout wins, so that their ROW right now is 3.
Oh my god. So like
Yeah,
that could eventually just hurt like
yeah. They have obviously, well, I mean, it they don't have the wins. Just to be like, yeah, their ROWs is the lowest because that just makes sense because they have the fewest amount of wins.
yeah.
Yeah, like
I would
yeah, and it's also just like even if you think about it logically, if you're going to overtime this many times, like the amount of extra hockey you're playing, that's gonna put a toll on the body as well.
yeah. Like
And even like from a mentality aspect as well. Like there's no way that doesn't affect a team where like you can't win in regulation. It just doesn't happen.
yeah, like I'm fumbling over my words because it's so just odd to me the situation with the Ducks right now. Like, what do you change besides just firing the coach? Because Dallas Aikens should not be a NHL coach. Besides just firing the coach, what do you change?
I don't know like if there is really anything they can change. Like I mean, if you want to get rid of John Klingberg, you can. He's only signed to a 1 year anyway. And yeah, it's just it's not like there's a clear cut answer for this team.
No, there isn't. Like,
Because like when you look at when you look at the team that they have, they are being led by their young guys. Like it's just it makes sense. Like they weren't. It's not like a whole. It's not a disaster. Like they weren't expected to be good. Like I think I had them like maybe 6th in the division at the start of the year.
but at the same time, they probably weren't expected to be this
That's
bad.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they weren't the expectation. It's the meme of the person holding the sign. Our expectations were low, but holy fuck,
Yeah, like, ugh, like it's just not going right.
yeah. Because like so you said yeah, Troy Terry 20 points. Second is Zegras with 16, and Ryan Strome with 11. It's like their young guys are pretty. Well, I mean Ryan Strome isn't young, but like they're 2 future guys are doing well. Like these are going to be the cornerstones of their franchise going forward, and they are individually performing. But the problem is, like, obviously you're a young team and you're not expecting to win a whole bunch. But like the fact that they're the worst team in the league, like they are actively worse than teams that are trying to be bad.
Yeah,
Like
and
Arizona is a tank playing in a college stadium called the Mullet Arena, and you're worse than that. That's a problem.
dude, I made a bet and I said that I would shave the Arizona Coyotes logo into my head if they made the playoffs. I want to see Arizona make the playoffs just so I can see a playoff game in that fucking arena. Cuz that would
Yeah.
be wild.
You know, like obviously it's still early. Like while they are, like they are not, they're obviously like tied for the second worst record in the league. It's still early. They're 4 points out of a playoff spot.
Who, Anaheim? Or
No, Arizona.
Oh yeah, they are.
Nashville has 17 points right now as a second wild card. Arizona has 13 with a game in hand. They've only played 16 games.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
like it's
there's chaos afoot this year so far.
100%. Like and obviously like that is hockey in a nutshell. It's just like anything can happen. It is still the start. Like it's not that early, but it's like we're approaching the quarter mark of the season. Eventually, things will average out, but like what's wrong? Like your start of the year, like chances are, like it won't make you, it will break you. Like and you look at that with teams like Anaheim. Well, not really with Anaheim because they're expected, but like obviously teams like Edmonton and like Toronto. These are teams that are supposed to be good. Like they're supposed to be playoff locks and potential contenders who started the year has been shaky at best. And it's going to come back to bite them one way or another. These are not teams that were supposed to be playoff maybes. Like they're supposed to be they're making the playoffs without a shadow of a doubt and competing for a cup, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Whereas with Anaheim, like there's no clear cut answer because I don't really think there needs to be. Like, yeah, they've been bad. They weren't expected to be this bad, but like it's not the end of the world for them. It's just wild to see a team 5-11-1 with no regulation wins. And it's not really like there's a whole lot they can do about it.
Yeah.
Just focus on the development and hope for the best. Because like they have hold on, I had their picks up. Where is it? Yeah, like they have their first. They have 3 second rounders, although they're from Boston, Colorado, so they're probably gonna be late second rounders. Like they have draft capital,
Yeah.
so it's not awful.
Yeah, obviously the fact that they're losing isn't a bad thing because, that's probably good.
Suck hard for Bedard.
Yeah, but at the same time, bro.
Well, and at this point, they also have the most valuable thing in the league, which is cap space.
Yeah, definitely.
They have 16 million in current cap space,
Yeah.
and yeah. So if you're looking at teams who are looking to unload, like who would you say is the worst contract right now? Because there's got to be some bad ones out there like that people are trying to get rid of.
The
They
worst
are
contract that somebody might be trying to get rid of.
honestly now I think it's probably gonna be like somebody like Tyler Myers.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's up there.
But even so, when it comes point for there to be a 3-team trade, they have a ton of cap space to just grab.
Yep. And if they can get some additional draft capital, like I'd even get like future like obviously picks now are better than picks later, but like if you're looking down the road, chances are you're going to be getting it from a good team who will do their pick won't be meaning much this year.
Yeah, obviously losing games in a mass rate isn't bad for Anaheim, but it's just wild.
Yeah. And like even like with some of their wins, like with the Toronto win, like that wasn't well, credit to Anaheim, like they did what needed to be done. That was Toronto beating themselves. That was Toronto just being an absolute goof team and just shitting the bed. Because they had a 3-1 lead and they just absolutely capitulated.
Vancouver mode.
Yeah. Well, Vancouver is their own shitstorm.
Okay. I guess now we can move on to our last topic. A good segue.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking about Vancouver, so let's talk about their guy, Bo Horvat.
Vancouver and Bo Horvat is the last topic for today's video.
Yep.
Yeah, Bo Horvat, he has a couple of trade rumors currently happening. Some locations include Ottawa, New York Islanders, also Carolina. Some of those places are potential trade spots that Bo Horvat could be traded to.
Yeah. Another place is Columbus. First of all, Bo Horvat, at the moment, he is currently, hold on, he has a cap hit of 5.5 million, 5.5 million, and he's a free agent after the season.
Yeah.
So
And currently he has 20 points in 18 games,
yeah,
including 14 goals.
Yeah, he's second in goals right now, and if I know correctly, he is the best face-off man for the Vancouver Canucks with a 57.57%, win rate.
Yeah, I don't have the face-off stats here, but I believe you.
Well, I have them up, so yeah.
Oh, you do?
He's
Okay.
he's 16th overall in face-off win percentage.
Yeah.
Like in the league?
Yeah, he's 16th overall. Number 1 is Jonathan Taves. Number 2 is Ryan Johansson. And number 3 is
Yeah.
Chandler Stevenson. But anyways, there's just a lot wrong with Vancouver this year.
The issue with Vancouver is, and I may get some heat for this, I don't care. Vancouver has some of the most, I did, for lack of a better term, some of the most toxic fans I've ever seen.
No,
You
really?
think?
You
You
mean
think?
you mean the fan base
You
that burned down their
really?
city twice is toxic?
Yeah, I don't know, but like past is the past. No, I'm saying like still that way. Like you want to make jokes about 2011, sure. 11 years later, it has not changed.
It didn't change before. Remember when they lost the cup back in the what was it the 80s or the
94?
90s? Yeah, and they lost.
Yeah.
But they burned down their city, and then they did it again. So why would you expect a change again? Like
I'm not expecting a change.
no,
I'm just
Yeah.
saying it hasn't changed.
yeah,
And I'm saying that needs to be acknowledged by the fact that like they are, and it's not even like I volatile. That's the word I was looking for. Because it's just like the highs are super high, the lows are super low. Like there is no consistent attitude. And that embodies Vancouver to a T. Like the one I think about is like this year, they were playing this game against Buffalo. And that's why, and I think this was what kind of put Bo Horvat on edge and everybody else, is when he had his jersey thrown on the ice after Buffalo scored an empty netter to make it like 5-1 or something.
oh yeah.
Bo Horvat had his jersey thrown on the ice, and I remember the post game for that. He was rattled. Like that got to him.
Wasn't there a point where the fan base was actually cheering for them losing?
Yeah.
At a certain
No.
point?
I will tell you because I remember this as well.
Yeah,
It
you were
was
talking about this to me.
yeah. So they were in Vancouver when the announcement came over the PA that there was 1 minute left in the third period. That is the loudest cheer I heard all night while watching that game.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's awful. And then you look at last night.
Yeah, I was watching last night's game with my
They
sister.
beat LA 4-1, and then like the entire third period, that
They were
building was
chanting,
rocking.
"Bruce, there it
Bruce
is."
there, the
But-
man that you wanted fired and probably still do as soon as you lose. Like it's
Yeah, and
pick a lane. Like I get it. Like you're happy when they win and you're sad when they lose, but like you need to have some consistency.
yeah, you can't be both. You can't be the extremes because, like, okay, so there are certain. We all know this. There are certain hockey markets that attract more players because the fan base and the media is more laid back and relaxed. There are extremes on both ends. There are the extremely aggressive fan bases like Vancouver. There's Edmonton. There's a lot of the Canadian teams are like that. And then there's the more Boston's another one. There's the more laid back ones that get players better that are like Ottawa, Nashville. Would you say LA? I'd say LA for a bit.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, LA's one.
they got
What
they
about
got
the
too much-
Rangers? The Rangers too.
No, their fan base is pretty
Yeah.
toxic.
It's pretty much when you get into, well, you need to have a city that has something else going on.
Okay.
And like,
Yeah.
but with the but like Rangers, you have other things going on.
Yeah.
But like, it's a hockey city because like it's
Yeah.
original six. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
got
Yeah,
history,
obviously, there's other factors like taxes and state income tax, but that's off topic for what we're discussing right now.
But like it it just boggles the mind that they are throwing jerseys on the ice and doing all this and wanting Bruce's head on a pike, and then last night they're chanting Bruce there it is. It's like I would say that quick of a turnaround makes it even worse in the eyes. Like I can't say because I've never been in the shoes of that, but I would think that would make things worse because like it truly feels like the fan base more so just really is just quick to turn on you for just minor things.
Well, and it's also the fact that like, not to disparage the city of Vancouver, it's just like how much do you really acknowledge the situation? Because the people that you keep calling for front office people and coaches to be fired, they've done that. They've brought in new front office people, they've brought in new coaches, And if they're still not performing, like maybe you actually look to the players for once. Because like if this is the case and you keep changing everything else, I guess we found the thing that makes the difference. Like you need to actually make a move. You need to switch up the roster because it's not getting it done. Like Vancouver, I don't think anybody was expecting them to like be world beaters this year. But
I had them missing the playoffs, but only by a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Like they there was an expected step forward, and it still could happen. It hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
They're currently on par with Chicago for points, and like that's bad in and of itself. Chicago has played 2 fewer games.
But I'm gonna go on a limb and say this: even if Vancouver does get their shit together and makes the playoffs, that I think that what the fan base has shown damages a lot on that team and around that team.
How so?
Well, think about it. So you said like when they were cheering.
No. I just meant. What do you mean by like by damages them?
So
I'm not disagreeing with you.
So yeah, no, I think that from like a player's point of view, when the fan base is that like quick to ire and throw jerseys on the ice and just blatantly be very hostile towards their captain, not even a month into the season, like it's really just it probably just makes players just kind of want to give it a wide berth. Like we do know that a lot of players don't want to. Some players don't want to go to Toronto, and some players don't want to go to Edmonton because of their media. And yeah, and while we all get that, and I'm not going to hate on anybody. You're a player. You get to choose where to go. If you can choose where to go, choose where you want to go. You're your own man. I'm not going to hate on anybody for that, and nor would I. But I think a lot of players are going to show a wider berth of that if they realize that the fan base is that quick to just turn on their players and on everybody around that team.
Yeah, and I think it's also just like I don't know what they're hoping to achieve. Like you and I mean from the fans. Like obviously the team is there to compete, and like they just weren't good. But it's just like the fans will just they'll attack anything and anyone,
Yeah,
and it's just like what are you hoping to achieve?
but
Like
another thing was like, okay, Thatcher Demko. He started the year off very poorly. No one's gonna argue that. He was one of the very very good goalies last year that started very poorly. He has the worst goals saved above expected stat in the league right now, and that's bad. Obviously, it's not like UC Saros, who started off poorly but has one of the highest goals saved above expected right now. It's a situation where he's not doing well. But instead of trying to rally around the goalie who is obviously and objectively, and anybody in the comment section or anywhere can try to argue it, I'm not going to change my opinion. Thatcher Demko is the future of that goaltending spot in Vancouver. And
oh yeah,
to not rally around him when he's going through a rough patch and to instantly turn on him, in my opinion, that sows discontent.
well, and it's also just like they have said that what's the word? They have said that the only people who are untouchable is Pedersen and Hughes.
Yeah.
And I think if you're with the like if that's well known and a player within the system hears that, like you have a problem. And like when you have somebody like Demko, who should be the future of that spot, getting like that sort of treatment, it almost it goes back to the Vegas situation. Like at this point, Vancouver is low key just Vegas with history.
they're just Vegas, but people don't want to shit on them as much because they're not as annoyingly outward with it.
Yeah, they're Vegas, but they've also just done the fuck ups before and again.
Yeah, they're Vegas, but with riots.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so
see, you know what? I bet there probably are riots in Vegas, but they just don't notice because they think, oh, it's just Vegas.
That's just Vegas.
Yeah, bro, they're just on the strip. It's just a Friday night. What are you gonna do?
That's just the strip being the strip. But
Yeah,
anyways,
exactly.
okay. Again, people give me shit when I compare things to Nashville, but I try to compare it to the team that I know the best. And if you're gonna
Mhm.
compare it to a team that you don't know anything about, then you're ridiculously dumb. So I compare it to the team I know the best. Look at Nashville. So obviously, Saros had the underlying advanced analytics stats saying that not only him but the entire team as a whole was very unlucky. He has the second highest goals saved above expected stat right now, and analytically wise, the Predators are the unluckiest team in the NHL right now. Which I still find it weird that there are stats to determine luck, but that's just an oddity to me. But anyways, when Nashville and Saros was going through this rough patch, fans didn't turn on him immediately. The majority of fans did not turn on him, and people who did were called out for it. And they stuck with him, and he's been doing a lot better. You look at okay, I'm gonna obviously he had the bad game against Seattle, but then you look at his game against Vancouver, 933 save percentage, New York 971, Minnesota 970, and then the game against the Islanders, that was a weird game, but he had an 879. He You need to let your players, especially your big star players or the players that you need going forward, like Saros, like Demko, and especially goalies above all else need patience because goalies are weird. We all know this. You need to give them time. You cannot turn on them immediately.
Well, it's also just the fact that like this is like those are not isolated incidents. Like Vancouver has like I don't know what it is. The fan base is always just looking to have an issue with anybody. If the team's not doing well, they're gonna be beefing with the team. If the team's doing well, they're gonna try and start shit with other teams. Like that was like one of the weirdest things ever to me is the fact that like Vancouver fans consider Vancouver and Toronto a quote unquote rivalry, which is the dumbest thing ever. Like you literally have two other Canadian teams that are right next to you, and then you have Seattle. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why they're trying to start with shit with Toronto, but it's just
Or,
like
or even
you're not
so,
that guy.
you have literally any other team in the Western Conference that you play more than Toronto.
Yeah, or even beyond that, like you have gone to Cup Finals and got shit on both times with like Boston and the Islanders. Like
Yeah, like
there's
start
no reason to be.
start rivalries with teams that you're around. Like if you want
Like, they don't even have to be around. They just have to make logical sense. Like, what's your issue with Toronto? Like, what? Like, it's very much a hammer and nail thing. Like, there is no rivalry here
what are you
from the
embarrassed that
Toronto's perspective.
are you embarrassed that I don't know, what are they upset that Toronto is like no, we want to be the most laughed at team in Canada. That's ours, not yours, Toronto. Like what is the beef with Toronto?
I don't. Yeah, it,
But
it it doesn't make sense to me. I always find it funny.
but even so, if you want to start shit with other fan bases, go ahead. I I like shit talking stuff amongst fans. Just don't be like toxic. Don't be a dickhead. Be nice with it and like just be friendly with it. But at the
Be a
same
shithead, but be a
yeah
nice
yeah
shithead.
be a nice shithead. But like the second your team starts doing bad, instead of like why don't they just do what other bad teams do when their team is bad and they just like shit on other teams but like know that their team is ass. That's easier than just immediately attacking your own players.
Yeah. Well, the other part with like with the within the team, it's just like they will get defensive or JT Miller gets called out for being bad defensively because he's bad defensively, and then they'll go at people on Twitter every time he puts up a point. Like, yeah, he produces because he's good on the offensive side of the game. He is god awful on the defensive side of the game, and yet, like I was watching last night, and he's on the penalty kill. Why the hell is JT Miller on the penalty kill?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Like and that's the issue. Like that's Vancouver's like whole franchise as a whole. Like currently, it's just everything is so reactionary. Like take a minute and just think.
they
You don't need to react to every single thing.
they are the angriest fan base in the NHL for seemingly no reason.
bro, Vancouver has short girl energy, and that's not a compliment.
We're about to get canceled for that.
No, like, bro,
We-
I don't know. Like one of my best friends, she's 4'11", and she is always trying to start fights. I don't know why.
but okay, no. But here's the thing: other fan bases who have gone through a lot more than Vancouver aren't as angry.
Yeah, like, and
They're
it's like
way
you're
too
not even
angry.
last. Like, yeah, you started off like that's the thing. Like, what was it? 7 straight losses. Hold on, how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 straight losses, and yet somehow, some way, they're not the worst team in the league.
Like the most I saw of it, obviously, was when I was watching the Predators Vancouver Canucks game, right? And after the first period, we had gotten 3 scored on us, or something, and so I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm turning this game off. I don't want to watch it." Right? I don't
Yep.
want to watch my team get embarrassed again. I'm done. So
Yep.
I was just laying down, and I fell asleep at one point. I fell asleep when we were down, and got woken up by Shay texting me rampantly saying that we had won. Lo and behold, I look around on Twitter, and it's funny, the progression of things. It goes from Vancouver Canucks fans talking shit about the Predators, hyping up their own team, making the oldest jokes about the banner stuff, and it just goes from it goes from that, which is all good. I talk shit about other teams, that's fine, and then progressively, until they start losing, it goes from pumping their team up to just hatred and vitriol for their own team. And it's just like, holy shit, how do you 180 that fast?
I don't know, I'm looking at this I pulled up the box score from that night, and I'm gonna so Mikheyev scores 2 minutes in, and then 2 minutes after that, JT Miller scores,
Yeah.
and then with 2.5 minutes left in the first period, Kuzmenko scores on the power play to make it 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Jordan Gross scores twice, once in the second period and once in the third, and then Nino Niederreiter ties it up early in the third, and then it goes to a shootout. Matt Duchene's the only one to score.
Yeah, and the big thing about that was Bo Horvat's whoopsie in the shootout.
Exactly. So I'm gonna ask you, see if you can name the 3 stars from that game. So who do you think was the third star?
The third star was Kuzmenko.
Third star, Saros.
What? Oh, okay.
He allowed 3 goals on 45
That is
shots.
true. He did step it up. So
Yeah.
Third star, Saros.
Yep. Second star.
Jordan Gross.
Yep. 2 goals, -1 in 16 minutes by time. Who do you think the first star was?
Bo Horvat.
Yeah, Bo Horvat was the first star with 1 assist and the just flubbed in the shootout. That was their first star of the game. Like, it makes no sense. It's just, yeah, it is the most confusing franchise. But like, I gotta think it's gotta be exhausting trying to exist in that ecosystem.
Yeah, it's
Like-
gotta be exhausting for Bo Horvat to go from being like, "You the man," when you're up 3-0 on the Predators, and
Yeah.
then when you flub in shootout.
And like,
You're
and
getting the
you're
most
you're this team's leading goal scorer, and like, I don't know if he wants to be dealt, if that's the situation, but seeing the trade rumors of like the trade is like, I saw one that like, oh, a Bo Horvat trade is becoming more inevitable day by day, and like same thing about like you have the same things being said about Bruce Boudreau being fired, and you win back-to-back games, and now they're chanting Bruce, there it is, for the entirety of the third period.
It goes from "Go kill yourself, Bruce" to "Bruce, there it is."
Yeah.
In like 5 minutes.
Like, obviously, like you were Ross, you had brought up like the comparison between that and New Jersey, where it's just like both had started off poorly, but then New Jersey has actually found consistency. They are just they're a wagon. They're on an absolute heater, and like you had fans chanting "Sorry, Lindy" at the game. Like that's
that's funny. Like that's good.
yeah.
Sorry,
but it's just like,
Lindy.
but you can see the direct comparison of like what is the key factor missing? Like, what does New Jersey have that Vancouver doesn't have? It's consistency and stability. Vancouver needs to they need to pick a lane.
Yeah. Well, even the fan base.
Or like not even just that. It's like you can't be changing lanes every 2 seconds because you don't like the car that's in front of you. Like it's so dumb.
It goes from
There's absolutely no thing. It's like, oh, I'm now behind a blue car. Better change lanes. Oh, that's a green car. Better move behind them.
I'm in a ditch.
Yeah, exactly. Like this doesn't end well for you. Because like no matter what happens, you're gonna end up disappointed. Because like the only way that that it seems like the fan base is actually satisfied is like if you're not winning, or it's a problem. And spoiler alert, you're gonna lose games. And like their team like is obviously they're not as bad as their record indicates. Like they should be a lot better, but they're still not. They're just not a top tier team yet.
No. Okay. We we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
We're already at 1 hour and 25 minutes. Yeah. Just last note, word of advice to Vancouver: put a designated riot zone in your city.
Oh no! Word of advice to Vancouver: think. Just think. Just once. Think.
I don't think that advice will stick to them. It'll just go in one ear and out the other.
I got it. I got to try at least because because if they actually get what they want, let's say they get Boudreaux fired. Let's say they trade Horvat. Let's say they get everything they want. Guarantee you, they're still not going to be happy because those are not going to be the magic solutions to make everything good.
No,
have some patience and just think before you start spewing nonsense.
Yeah, it's like what I've said about Nashville when everybody was calling for Hines' head. I was like, guys, think. Do not fire Hines. He may not be the best option, but you already know they're gonna fire him and then bring in somebody like Mike fucking Babcock. Just know.
I don't think anybody's going after Babcock with all his shit, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. But it's
honestly, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they do fire Boudreaux if that's JR's first call.
or who's the former Calgary coach that said some horrible things to
Bill
yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna hire him.
Oh yeah,
that would go over real well. They're gonna hire part-time coach Tony D'Angelo.
They're gonna hire full-time.
No, Brendan Leipzig.
That's it.
Full-time coach Mitchell Miller.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's too soon for that.
Don't worry. He'll make an apology.
Air quotes around apology.
Yeah, he's just gonna read a paper. I'm sorry for what I did. I've become a better person.
Online.
Yeah, that exactly.
Yeah, it would literally just be. Hold on, I'm gonna type it in the Discord server. This would be his apology when he gets hired as a coach.
He's just gonna put SRY.
No.
SRY.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, wink face.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So we'll wrap this up. Sorry for the inconsistency of uploads. There hasn't been a lot going on. I think we have a few videos coming up, not only from Shay with, I think, Oilers talking about, but I will be recording a cell block soon after this month of hockey is over. So yeah, we'll try to upload more frequently if we can think about things to talk about. But yeah, if you like the video, leave a like. If you don't like it, dislike it. Subscribe if you haven't already, or unsubscribe.
And let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Yeah, unsubscribe if you don't like us. Let us know in the comments what you think, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, goodbye.